en route to the, where are we going?
We're off to the Space and Science Museum in London.
We are off to the Space and Science Museum in London, as you heard it there from the lovely voice of the North, where we are going to check out rocket technology, I believe, and astronaut technology, and just lots of technology.
And we're also going to go. We also need to check the actual footage of the landing on the moon, because I do believe it's fake.
There, you've heard it there first on Paranormal Addiction Radio. Voice of the North thinks it's fake.
Sorry for the interruption. This is Kevin Graham. I'm live. I was trying to get to the SpaceX's launch to get the resupply to the International Space Station. I ran upon some technical difficulties. Launch has been rescheduled for July 25th, and I can only say that with the help of P.A Radio and taking care of all of the expenses that I'm incurring, thank you guys very much, and I'll be getting back to you as soon as we launch.
It's nice to have you back on the show, Kevin Graham. It's very kind of you to be doing the live reports from the NASA space station. I'm unsure about the expenses, though. That wasn't agreed in your contract. Anyway, we will get back to Kevin Graham later on in the show. And for those of you who have just tuned in, and you're probably wondering, what is going on? Well, this show, we are talking about the 1969 moon landing, where Neil Armstrong made this very famous speech.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Was that real, or was it a fake, one big hoax? That is what we're going to be talking about on the show today. And joining me now on Paranormal Addiction Radio, it's Phil Stern. Hi, Phil. Welcome to the show.
First of all, good evening, everybody, and good evening, Al, of course.
What are your opinions on the moon landing? Did it happen, or was it a hoax?
I'm kind of biased towards his landing on the moon, because at that time there was a competition going on between Russia and the US to make it to the moon. So I don't know. I'm not too sure about that.
Yeah, I basically said the same thing. I was just talking to Alex about that the Russians went up before the Americans, and the Americans sort of like panicked and decided to send the Apollo up. Only thing is, I believe that they sent the Apollo in the orbit of the Earth for 8 days, and then they did a fake filming in a studio of the Apollo little moon lander landing on the moon. Everything about it is just so fake. It's just...
So some actually believe that the Russians actually made it to the moon before the Americans.
No, the Russians did make it to the moon before the Americans. And what happened was the Americans basically shit themselves and thought that the Russians were going to bomb America from space. So this is basically why they had the Apollo mission to space.
So, Phil, do you think then perhaps it was just one big film set?
Well, if you think about how Hollywood was at that time already, so they basically had all the possibilities to stage something like that, but I don't know. Could be fake, could be real, but I have my doubts, considering in politics back then and today. I have no doubts that we landed on the moon at some point in time, or now, but I don't know, back then it's kind of hard to believe with all the stuff going on between the States and Russia, and the fights they had, the cosmonauts against the astronauts and stuff. Can you imagine how it would have been if Germany was number 3 in the competition? Then maybe today you'd have Germans in space.
Question you should say about the number 3 German on the moon, because back in in World War II, Hitler and all that, there is a lot of conspiracies that they actually did have a base on the moon.
No, they didn't have a base. It were up in I can't say it.
Antarctica.
Yeah.
But I've also heard that something was on the moon.
But there was a lot of occultism in World War II with Hitler and his henchmen.
I mean, you think about it, World War II, the Germans were quite advanced with their technology, like they are today.
But what I'm
saying, they can't make a VW van very well. Their mine's always breaking down.
Yeah,
but back then, they could make good technology and good vehicles.
What I'm saying, can I just get in here? I was saying to you earlier on about this. I do believe there's a human colonisation upon the moon. But like I said...
And they're all German speaking.
No, they're not.
Well, Phil, we've actually sent Kevin Graham... Well, he was meant to go to NASA, but
I think he got lost.
He's got lost, and he's actually trying to get onto a spaceship to get himself onto the moon, from what we can gather from the report coming back, because he thinks P.A Radio are going to pay for the expenses.
So we've been billed for it at the moment.
So the invoice is on its way.
So we'll have to discuss that with Kevin Graham when we get the bill.
Yeah, well, I've been trying to get hold of him, but he's not answering. So whether he's in orbit,
or he's been arrested,
we're
not too sure.
He might be trying to get to the planet called Anasol. Is that possible?
Yeah, I love it, Phil. Probably.
I'd now like to welcome Mindy Arend to the show. Mindy, we are discussing the moon landing of 1969, whether or not it was true or was it just one big hoax. I'm with Voice of the North, Della. We want to know what your opinion is. Is it real or was it a fake?
Hello, Al. Thank you for the guest part. It's a controversy, really. Some say it's fake, some say it's real. There's enough evidence. If you go online, there's more than enough evidence to say that it was real. But yet, who's to say that wasn't faked? Really, at this point in time, it's unknown. I personally believe that it was a true landing.
This is what's getting us, basically, is that it's no blast from the... Well, it's no crater, is
There's
it?
no blast crater.
When it landed, the little moon... buggy thingy Bob landed. And then when you look at the pictures as well, it's like I said, when you look at the moon pictures of the landing and you look out into space, there's actually no stars now. Well, it's strange, isn't it, that you're on the moon, shouldn't there be these stars?
Yeah, and there's also the talk about the flag flapping.
And
there's no atmosphere, no wind.
So there's no wind, no nothing. Also about where I were on about the astronaut's boot imprint in the
footprint in the moon.
Yeah. Well, there's no. It's weightless, isn't it? There's no
so there'd
gravity,
be no...
so there shouldn't have been any of that. And there were also does kick up as well as we were walking. There shouldn't have been any of that. Well, that's personally what I think.
Delia, I have to agree with you on that point there. There was no dust kick-off. There was no footprints. And there definitely, well, as far as the flag goes, that's a big controversy in itself. Some say yes, the flag. Some say no, the flag was not there. It was just photoshopped in. But back in that day, there was no Photoshop or internet.
Going back to the moon, I do believe that there's a human colonisation up there. I've said this to Alex before. I mean, yeah, it's one big conspiracy theory, but from what, I mean, I'm into different stuff as well, but from what I've been reading and what I've been hearing about people talking about it, they're saying that there's actually a colonisation of humans up there. Also, other beings. I mean, this is a total different topic that we're probably going to discuss later on down the line somewhere, but yeah, I do believe that. And I also, it's like I said to you, Alex, I believe that aliens are actually among us on Earth as well. But like I said, this is a totally different subject that we're going to be talking about later on down the line. Hence why I'm going on about this space, well, the human colonisation upon the moon.
I don't believe any of that.
Yeah, but you see, I do, so I don't know. What do you think?
I do believe that there is alien life form that's on there. They did catch something. When they landed, they did catch something on film or video from the satellite off of the shuttle when it landed. But it was never shown. It was part of evidence that they had up there that was removed. When NASA got wind of it and they spotted what it was, they took it out immediately. So you will see a small section in there that is, it's blipped out, and you can see where it's blipped out. So I do believe there is alien life form up there. We are definitely not alone in this universe.
I totally agree there. Going back to what you said about NASA cutting it out, they actually shut down the broadcast at that time when they actually saw that. I do remember watching it, and then I've also seen another documentary that they actually said that NASA shut it down because of that reason, that they didn't want others to see what was up there. So I don't know. It's just, again, it's another conspiracy theory, isn't it? Is that did we land on the moon? Is the colonization up there? You see, we don't know, do we? And the government's not going to tell us. They're not going to tell us the truth. I mean, they've been lying to us all forever, aren't they? They're not going to tell us.
Well, whatever it was that they saw up there, NASA got it and blipped it out, and that was only evident on the footage when they showed it. And the only reason why I'm believing that they did land on it is there's enough evidence to show that they did land. But again, like I said previously, there's some controversy saying that they didn't. Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong, if they wouldn't have had their visors down, then we could have seen their faces, and that would have been a lot easier. Like some people are really conflicted on first man on the moon. Those two men were not the first ones on the moon. It was a Russian that was on there, and it was a picture had been taken of the Russian flag that was up there when they landed. So the Russians were there first, not the Americans. The Americans were the first American people on the moon.
Hello, Kevin Graham. This is Paranormal Addiction Radio. We'd like to know where you are at the moment. We got your last report. We're a bit concerned that you're trying to get to the space station. That was not what you were asked to do. We have been trying to get hold of you for some time. Hopefully you'll pick up this message.
Yes, Alex, this is Kevin Graham reporting live. I did successfully manage to board SpaceX's Dragon resupply ship. I'm currently en route to the International Space Station. I had to remove some of the supplies. There was 5,000 pounds. I had to make room for my body weight as to not alert anyone. And I hope to hear back from you about the impending charges incurred on this mission, but we'll talk about that later. As always, signing off, Kevin Graham. Y'all have fun.
Oh, dear me. What's he doing? Anyway, I'll deal with that later. Let's just get on with the show for now, and I'll worry about him later. David Childers, welcome back to Paranormal Addiction Radio. Perhaps not a paranormal theme this. Would you say it's a paranormal theme?
No. Well, it
is and it isn't.
It depends how you look at it, doesn't it?
Depends how you look at it. But the question is to you, David. The moon landing, 1969, Neil Armstrong stepped on the moon. Now this program, what we're doing today, we want to know, did he step on the moon? Or was it just one big hoax? What are your opinions?
Well, my opinion on that, I believe they did. I know the whole controversy, it was like, it was a movie studio, this and that, trying to beat the Russians to, be the first ones to step on the moon, but I really believe they did, man. I mean, over the years, somebody would have leaked it out. Somebody either would have got fired from the government or whatever, and they would have leaked it out somehow, some way. I know it happened nowadays, but I really do believe they did visit the moon.
Thank you for your opinion there, David, on the moon landing. And quite a few people are making the decision, or they've kind of decided that they don't believe. There's a lot of people with the view that they didn't land.
I'm against it, and you're still.
I would like to be on David's side on this. I would like to believe that they did land on the moon. I really want to believe it, but the more I look at the evidence, as I've said before, There's a lot of evidence suggesting that they didn't.
Red flags, isn't it? That's
A lot of red flags. But anyway, David, thank you ever so much for being on the show. We're going to wrap this show up now. Yeah, thanks once again for coming on. Hopefully we can catch up with you again next week. I think we're going to be talking about ghosts, aren't we, next week?
Ghosts next week, and then the week after, hopefully, we're going to talk about dogmen and Bigfoot, because I absolutely love that subject. So if you want to come back on for that and put your input into it.
Well, I know David has had a little...
He has, I know he has.
Does a little bit of Bigfoot. Those of you that don't know David Childers, I may actually have him on the show if he will agree to it as just the guest of the show, and we will interview him. Perhaps. How do you feel about that, David?
A couple of years ago, have an encounter with a Bigfoot.
This man's had loads of experiences.
I'm sure you did, and I think he got ridiculed for it. But anyway, so David, I'd like to.
Yeah, I'd like to have him on as a guest.
I'd like to quiz you about that, because I've got my thoughts. We've actually got them here in the UK as well. We've got both species. We've got the Dogman and the Bigfoot.
Yeah.
So, but it's actually called the Green Manny.
Awesome. Sounds good, guys. Yeah, I'd love to be a part of that, and I'd love to talk about experiences with Bigfoot and ghosties and all that good stuff. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'll talk to y'all soon.
We've got to wrap this show up.
Yeah.
We're running low on time.
Thanks for coming on once again. We will speak to you later on. Cheers.
Bye.